Welcome back to a brand new season of Rip It Up. Every renovation teaches you something, but it's only after you've lived through the dust, the delays and the decisions, and then done it again like me, that the real lessons appear. This season, we're revisiting our biggest renovation topics, not with theory, not with optimism, but with hindsight. Process, planning, lighting, kitchens, bathroom, windows, what worked, what didn't, and what we'd never do the same way again. This is What We Wish We Knew Then.
Welcome back to the podcast. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Jen.
You survived for your ski holiday at the weekend.
Yeah.
This makes me very happy.
I'm all in one piece. No
Skiing's
pulls
great.
or strains or broken limbs, so it was a success by all accounts, because I'm not the best skier.
Well done. It's not easy.
It's certainly not easy. It's physical enough. But then, it was the first time I actually really enjoyed skiing, I think, and just, enjoyed, my dinners at night. I felt like you earned it, whereas you only go on a holiday and you're out for your, fifth dinner and you're like, oh, I feel like I haven't done any exercise and haven't done anything in so long that I feel rotten. But skiing, you actually feel like, I've earned this wine and food tonight.
Yeah, you're actually hungry and you're
Starving.
You're not bored. Like, you've been busy all day and you're looking forward to relaxing. It's so nice.
Yeah, it was lovely though. Lovely.
All right, today we're talking about this episode and the next episode. We're going to be talking about mechanical and electrical, and what we mean by that. Basically, mechanical is all to do with your plumbing, your drains, etc. Electrical, where do you put your switches, your plugs, and crucially, your lighting plan.
Crucially,
so
the most important thing, according to Jen.
My favourite thing, it is.
You may as well not renovate if you don't give your lighting plan enough thought.
I don't know why you're laughing saying that. That's true.
I know.
It's true.
It is true. It's something I learned, I think, the hard way, yeah.
It's crucial. Okay,
and mechanical, wow, what a glamorous topic. Let's talk about, poo pipes and wastewater. But it's something that is so... It's almost impossible to change after the fact, right? Because you're talking about big pipes and they're in your walls and they're under your floor and there could be concrete on top of them, there could be underfloor, and it's impossible to do afterwards. So without thinking about the layout of your rooms, you need to think about the layout of your mechanical elements of your build first, because it can change it.
Yeah, so this episode all about mechanical, and Kate, we're going to be talking about toilets a lot. Okay, so listener, if you're eating or about to eat, maybe just save this one for a little bit later. We're going to, we're not going to be holding back. But what you mentioned there is so important because it's something you don't know how to do. If you're approaching your first renovation, there's no way that you could know how to do this and what to think about. And the ways that it affects you, first of all, if anything goes wrong down the line, it is huge. Your floors are being ripped up, your walls are being ripped out. It's a disaster. You do not want a burst pipe in your house, especially not a waste pipe. And the second thing that's really, really, really common, and most people don't think about it, and it's often one that just gets in the way of design when you're coming towards the end lovely phases of putting the final touches on, is boxes in the corner of your room for pipes to go in that you just might not have planned for. So it is really important. Okay, so first of all, the first thing you think about, mechanical, and we're doing this early in this series because it's something that comes really early. You need to have it laid out and planned really early.
And I think it's something that people don't even think about if they haven't done a renovation before, or underestimate maybe, because you're kind of thinking we can pick, our finish and our flooring, but before any of that comes, mechanical comes, and that's the layout and the function of your rooms, and like you said, box outs that you may or may not want to hide.
Yeah. So what you need to think about is, where is your water coming in? Where is your waste pipes going out? This could be from your sink, from your shower, from whatever else, your washer, dryer, whatever else. Where are those pipes going? And then how does that all fit in to the grander drainage system in your home?
And
that's
heating
important to know
too, right?
Your heating, sorry, of course.
Because if you've a combi boiler, it might be a bit simpler. But if you have a standard cylinder, and I think you have a standard, do you have a combi boiler?
I have a standard cylinder.
No, I have a standard cylinder too.
I love a bath, and the combi boiler isn't. Some combi boilers are not quite up to scratch of filling a whole bath. Yeah. So I had the space for it. My plumber worked out a way to get it in under the eaves, and I just felt it was better in the long term.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar, a combi boiler will heat the water instantly, so you don't need tanks, whereas a standard kind of cylinder boiler will have a hot water cylinder, usually beside your boiler or close by your boiler, and then you'll have a water tank in your attic as well.
Yeah. So the combi bit and combi boiler is heater and water tank. So the two things happen at once. It's almost like a heating version of those Quaker boiling water taps, isn't it? Where the water comes in, it gets heated instantly, and then it goes out, and you don't need to store it in a tank in the middle.
But I've heard a lot more people using combi boilers now, but I was always under the impression that it didn't have the flow, first off, to service a couple of taps or a couple of showers at the same time. So if you were a household that was likely to have 2 showers going in the morning at the same time, I don't think it's for you. You'd probably lose pressure. Or like you said, the volume and how much you'd need for a bath. It mightn't be enough. Yeah. So that's.
But if
like,
you're
that's
a small house and you're
7 to
tight
1.
on space and you're not, having more than one shower going at one time most of the time, then it's a great option.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to think about. So you need to be looking at your plan. You need to have an idea of where the main drainage points are in your home. This is important as well, because if you're planning something like an extension, or even if you're just knocking out a back wall a little bit, knowing where the main drainage points are on your property is important, because the difference between extending a wall and having to move a drainage system versus not is, tens of thousands of euros at a minimum. So just knowing where those are, working around them to the best, possible effect is important. And then crucially within your house, where's the toilet going? Where's the shower going? Where's the sink going? Where's the heating going? Where are those key appliances? And then where do the pipes have to run through your house to get outside? And what does that mean for, like, where do they then have to be boxed in? Because they're not necessarily going to be able to run through your walls.
Yeah,
exactly. Or if they do run through your walls, they might be very noisy, and you might not want that either. And
then crucially, like, your toilet waste pipe is a huge pipe, right?
This is the big one. This is the big one.
Yeah, it's the big one. It's the doozy, literally. They're big. They're big. Soil pipes are like 4 inches. Like, I know there's Saniflos and these Macerators and stuff you can put on, which probably aren't ideal for servicing and that kind of stuff. But like, a toilet waste pipe is big. It has to go out somewhere, and it ideally doesn't have to have all these big bends and stuff on it that you'll get blockages, So those kind of waste, that waste layout is so important. You can't just randomly put a toilet in a new position in your house and not check, where it's going. I've seen people put like an ensuite in the middle of their house, and then they put a toilet in, and they're like, how do we get the waste out? Because maybe if the joists are running in your favour, maybe you can run that, under the floorboards parallel to the joist. But if the joists are running perpendicular, then it's very hard to get a toilet waste out. So, it's not to be underestimated, I guess. And like, I always say to people, like, try and keep toilet routes somewhat the same as where they already are if you're renovating a house. It'll cause you a lot less hassle and probably be a lot tidier in terms of like box sets and things like that. So like, unless you're putting in something new, try and keep them kind of roughly where they are.
Yeah. And if you do have to box it out, which is just going to happen sometimes, right? You're just going to have to put in, like, a pipe is going to have to run down for whatever reason, like a corner of your room, and you're just going to have to build, like, plaster a box around it. And that might have to happen sometimes, but you want to know that early. You might want to insulate it so it's not too noisy if it's in a room that's used often and there's going to be people using the toilet or shower upstairs or whatever. And then you need to work it into the design, right? So what we did, if anyone's watching this on YouTube, what my builder did, excuse the mess now of my living room, but there's a box pipe there in the corner of the living room beside my couch, right? So it's just a box that's in the corner of my room. And what my builder decided to do was to put a dummy box on the other side of the room facing it so that it's symmetrical looking. And he put lighting in there, but you could put an alcove in there, you could put shelving in there. Like, you can work, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, sometimes it just has to be there. But it's just knowing that in advance and working that into the design of your room so that you can work around it work with it even is critical.
I think, and look, you're going to have an engineer or your main contractor is going to do this layout, but it's important that you know the questions to ask. Like, where is it routing out? Am I going to have box outs? Am I going to hear a toilet flush in my dining room? When someone flushes the toilet upstairs? Because honestly, that's what happens a lot of the time. A big toilet waste comes down into the corner of the room and they box it out. But you can still hear things through that if it's not insulated or, well put away. So like, it's just knowing to ask those questions. Where are the wastes going? And then critically, like, if a waste pipe is going in upstairs, like, how are they getting it out? Like, they're not damaging your joists or they're damaging your floorboards, lifting up the floorboards, things like that. So it's just being aware to ask the questions and see those routes before final kind of finishes and kind of concrete goes down, or like permanent flooring and stuff like that, that mightn't be the easiest to change after the fact.
Now, you mentioned Saniflo and Macerators, and listeners, like, this is where things are getting really
if you're eating a sandwich, just put it down. So, like, I've actually had a Saniflo in a rental apartment. Or
so this house. Is where it's a mechanical device. It has to be powered. It's a mechanical device that takes what goes into your toilet and liquefies it.
So imagine a NutriBullet on the back of your toilet.
It's a NutriBullet.
And then that NutriBullet has a pump attached to it. And why people put that in is because instead of a standard 4-inch toilet soil pipe, you can put in a 2-inch, which makes it a lot easier to route through your house, rather than that huge WAVN pipe that has to go through the house. So sometimes people put those Macerators or those poo NutriBullets and a pump in instead. Look, sometimes they're an absolute necessary evil, but they have to be maintained. And like, I would always, err on the side of caution and be like, maybe that's not the pooing toilet in the house. Like, obviously, like, maybe a guest might do it or something unknowingly, but like, it'll still work. But maybe it's not the day-to-day pooing toilet. And 100,000,000%, not that you should ever put it down any toilet. No wipes, even flushable wipes, anything. No, it'll just block up. And I did have it block up before in my rental place, and we literally had a poo nanny upstairs. It was a disaster.
Like, it is an area of your house where you do not want to add in any unnecessary maintenance. So you would really want to have your toilet in that area to bother putting one in. Like, again, maybe that is the answer for you. Maybe all of that sounds fine to you and you're like, that's okay, no worries at all. It's worth it so that I can put the toilet in there. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But just know what's involved going into it.
Yeah, and then the other wastes are not as like critical, we'll say. It's just a standard kind of sink waste, like where are you putting in your sinks, maybe your washing machine, plumbing and waste water as well. So just thinking
your shower,
about those,
all that kind of stuff is fine.
Like, you'll have a bit of wiggle room, but having general ideas of where those appliances or sinks or whatever or positions are going to be is important. Equally, it's important to know if those feeds for the water and the waste are coming through the floors or out of the walls, depending on, like, if you have a different type of vanity or floating unit or something that you want to hide the pipes. So just think about things like that, like, I've always wanted a floating vanity because my bathroom's small. Well, then your pipework should come out of the wall and not out of the floor where you'll see it.
Yeah, and it's one to think about now as well, because if we go back to bathrooms for a second, because bathrooms and kitchens are really, and heating is really where all of this comes into play. And we had an email actually from a listener a few weeks back who was talking about not knowing that when someone comes to you and says, like, do you want your toilet to be behind the wall or to be like the cistern to be on show? Like, you won't know that, but that's actually something that you need to think about now, because you need to know, like, where's the connection point? Do you want to be able to see that cistern? Or do you care about that? Or do you just want that kind of floating toilet look? So all of that is to be thought about now. Where's that pipe coming out? How much space then does that mean that you have left? Like, if if that connection point is in a certain corner or against a certain wall and you need to think about putting something up against it, like, how much space does that leave for you?
Yeah, exactly.
Just on that, actually, because I do think that's an interesting one, is when you're choosing to, you don't need to like choose your toilet at this stage, but you do need to choose if it's going to be a hidden cistern in behind the wall or if it's going to be visible. And there's no arguing that a hidden one looks cleaner, don't get me wrong, like, it's sleeker, but I still prefer just a really kind of basic looking, like, subtle kind of toilet with the cistern out, because those things can break, and if you need to fix it, then you have to get in behind that wall and get to it. So my preference is to go for one that's on show.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think the flush button ones are much, I don't know, they're much more troublesome from like just past ones I've had or experiences I've had.
Do you mean the kind of thing, the plate on the wall?
Yeah, there's just the plate on the wall. I just feel like the lever handles are just more mechanical. They're not translating like a button press to a lever action. So, like, I just find some of those little button press ones have such finicky little plastic bits attaching to essentially a lever inside.
And I actually often want to, they break really easily,
Yeah, well, like,
and I want to put cleaning solutions into my cistern sometimes, do you know?
Yeah.
But or sometimes you can just have a drop in water and you need, like, I think having access to a cistern is worth it.
Yeah, it is, yeah. And
That's my
also
two cents.
it's important to know the toilet pan that you're going with as well, because some of them have like a ceramic waste integrated into them, say the more traditional style ones.
Yeah.
And it's important to know if the waste is going straight out the back and out to the outside of your house, or
So you have
it's
kind of like a
turning
floating...
down,
Yeah.
or it's turning down and into your floorboards.
Yeah.
So they can be different on traditional toilets, but a lot of the newer toilets now are what they call fully shrouded, or the back to wall,
Yeah.
where like the ceramic goes all the way into the wall and all the pipework is kind of hidden inside that.
Yeah, and I
So,
love
like,
that. It's
yeah,
like,
I love that.
it's just
yeah.
a really clean look, and it still gives you
Yeah.
the easy to access if something goes wrong. I just think keep it simple. That's when it comes to toilets.
Yeah. You don't want to be dealing with that if you can
Yeah.
at all. But yeah, those things are just all for consideration at this stage. Positioning of hot and cold water, whether mains water or your attic kind of tank water to the bathrooms, where they're all coming in and out, walls, floor, and then bathways, showerways, same kind of thing.
Yeah, and radiators. Sometimes, like if you're having, all your radiators, maybe like I have underfloor heating, for example, downstairs, but I have towel radiators in the bathrooms. And all you need to think about at this stage is, number one, where do they go? And what does that mean for the design of your room? And so therefore, where do the connection points need to go?
Yeah.
And then number two, is that connection point coming out of the wall, or is it going into the floor?
Yeah.
So, if you want to have like a wall-mounted radiator that's maybe sitting a bit higher, that's completely off the floor, then the connection point needs to be in the wall. If you're okay with it sitting into the floor, that's fine too. You just need to know, and you need to know before you have your floor going in.
And I think your plumber should kind of guide you in terms of what size radiators here. But like you can do a little bit of a guesstimate yourself online with BTU calculators, put in the size of your room, the windows, insulation, that kind of jazz, and it will tell you what kind of BTUs you need for a room. Typically, like a standard size bedroom might need 3,000 BTUs or something like that. So you might decide to put 2,500 rads in there, and have them kind of running at 60% open or whatever, or you can have like one huge rad. So just familiarize yourself with like roughly the size of rad you need for the room, because then you'll be looking a little later, but the plumber will probably ask kind of quite quickly the pipe spacing for each rad.
Yeah.
And that's not the width of the rad. If you actually look at the specs of radiators online, it says like pipe to pipe distance. And that's what the plumber is looking for, because that's what will be coming out of your floor or coming out of your wall or whatever and connecting to valves. So that's something worth familiarising yourself with as well.
Yeah. Radiators is something that often get in the way. People forget, and they're like, oh, where do I put it? And then all of it again, it's like the boxed in pipe. It really can affect the design decisions that you make in your house later. Like, where do you put your couch? Where do you put your desk up against the wall? Like anything. It's tough.
And it's important to just know, I would recommend taking as many pictures as you can of pipes and pipe roots before floors go down.
Yeah.
You'll never regret having those pictures on your phone. Just if something does go wrong or something's not working perfectly, that you can go back and reference them. We had an issue in this renovation that our front 2 bedrooms upstairs were not getting hot.
Yeah.
The radiators were just not heating, and it was just the way they were on the circuit that it was kind of the path of least resistance was heating all the other rads, and it just wasn't offshooting to those front rooms. And we literally couldn't rectify it by balancing rads or anything like that. Like, we could tweak it tiny bits, but like not enough to get them anyway close to how hot the radiators in the back of the house were. But we ended up having to put those front ones on a different zone. So it's worth knowing what's the route of your radiators. If you have radiators upstairs, where's it coming from, the hot water, and what's the path it goes through to reach all the rads. And that'll give you a good idea then if one is not getting hot, or it's cooler than the rest. You just can't balance them. You'll know kind of why.
Yeah.
All this glamorous stuff, all the pipes and walls.
It's just like, again, it's not rocket science. There's not that many connection points in a typical house. You only have so many bathrooms, you only have so many kitchens, and you only have so many heating points. So, but it's just stuff that you have to think about earlier than you would expect. It's things that have impact decisions down the line in ways that you might not anticipate, and you need to know about now. And it's things that can be easily changed at the early stage of renovation, and like can save you so much headache down the road.
For sure.
So it's worth knowing about.
And for your heating, if the option's there to put in additional zones, I would say why not? Like
Always do it.
us having that zone at the front of the house now is great because we can kind of tweak the front of the house bedrooms a bit more than the back, which is all kind of more new construction and new windows, whereas the front ones are old windows, they're single glazed, you know, like we couldn't upgrade those windows. So they are two different kind of temperatures naturally.
Yeah.
So like having that extra zone actually makes it much more efficient in terms of heating. So,
yeah, if you've like bedrooms that are guest rooms or something like that, like you don't need them to be heating all day every day, you know, where you might have the other bedrooms heating or you know, downstairs bedrooms that you don't use or whatever.
Or like you've a really cold hallway, like it's probably not ideal to put your thermostat out there or your controls, you know, because like it'll never get up to temp and the rest of the house might be boiling or whatever. So it's, you know, have a think about that as well, where your heating controls and where your thermostats are positioned, that they're getting an accurate gauge of the overall temperature you want that area or that part of the house.
Yeah, because there's little thermometers in them that say the temperature is blah, 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 but it might be in that room, but it might not be in another room. So
exactly,
think about that.
And this is kind of a mechanical thing, and it's something I didn't do this time, mainly because I hate the radiator valves that have all the numbers, the plasticky kind of ones. They're what are they called? TRVs, temperature regulated valves. And I just bought plain brass ones. Like the plumber absolutely hated me for it because he was like, you can't really dial those in, and they don't close, you know, automatically kind of. But yeah, that's just a watch out. It might be worth your while just getting TRVs, the actual ones with the dials that you can actually dial in and balance your radiators a little more visually and a bit more kind of, you know, easily between rooms.
Yeah, that is a good one to think about.
Yeah.
The one that I was going to talk about there was the last thing to think about is while we're talking about mechanicals, we're not really talking about heating yet, but at this stage it is worth thinking about what kind of heating and water system you're going to have. So we talked about combi boilers, we talked about having separate heaters and tanks. Some of it's going to be dictated by the type of heat that's in your house, like whether it's gas or whether you're going with like an air to water or something like that kind of a system. But just what is your heating and water supply system going to be like? So I mentioned that I went with a water tank. I also have a pump because mine is sitting upstairs, but it feeds an upstairs bath and shower. And I love a bath, so it was worth it to get like the separate tank and the pump, so I knew I could fill it. As we mentioned before, a combi boiler could be worth it for some people, but like the number one component in heating and waste and all of this mechanical stuff is gravity, right? So like everything flows by gravity. So you need to think about where is your water tank going, and is it high enough in your house for it to efficiently flow water through the rest of your house, and if not, do you need a pump?
Pump, we should probably talk about pumps as well, you know, having pump on your heating system. Obviously there'll probably be one anyway, but they'll also pump on your showers and stuff as well if you're not getting
I have two pumps. I have a pump for my water tank, which is worth it, and then I have a sump pump outside my back garden because I dropped the floor of the ground floor. So the drainage, it's still above
the water table.
The water table, which is fine, although the water table is like steadily rising now, so I'm very glad of it. But it's not as high above the water table as my engineer would like it to be. So there was a bit of back and forth about would I get a sump pump or not. So this is the pump that's buried in my back garden that just helps. It kicks on if it needs to, and it helps to pump out wastewater into the mains waste and drainage system. And if you're dropping your floor, if you're below for whatever reason or nearly below, like at level with the water table, it's something to think about. It could be a very they rarely break down. They're very easy to, you can bury them in the garden, and it could save you a lot of money in the future.
Yeah, that's actually something that happened to us in our last renovation, talking about pumps and boilers and boiler positioning. We thought we were very smart. We were like, we're going to put everything in the attic. We have this huge attic space. Like, it wasn't a converted attic space, but like, we're going to put the boiler up there. We're going to put the, you know, tanks and all that. It was a terrible idea actually, because an old house over kind of 3 levels or 3 floors, all the air goes up there. Like any air in the system is going to go up there, you know. And we had a lot of rads and whatever. We had one small section of underfloor, but that boiler kept bloody cutting out because any of that air rising, the pressure would drop in the boiler. So we were constantly up there topping it up, and then, you know, the pump that was built into it burnt out eventually. So like that was a big learning for us. So talk to your plumber about the positioning of your boiler or heat pump or whatever you're putting in, and make sure, you know, if any part of it's gravity fed, that, you know, that'll work, but
Yeah.
also, you know, air is going to rise too. So like, make
Yeah,
sure that you're
that's
not
a
putting in
really
a
good
silly
call.
position that way.
Yeah, and it's like if you're flip-flopping, it's always a good idea to invest in this stage, because these are things that if they go wrong, they're so hard to fix. So just spend the extra to, you know, if you need an extra pump, if you need an extra whatever, just spend it. It's worth it. Like, it really is.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's it for
I
me.
think that's more or less, yeah, it's a very glamorous topic, but like, it's something that just, you need to know. And like, I guess knowing this stuff and knowing the questions to ask is the key thing. Like, you're going to have an engineer and you're going to have a plumber deciding a lot of this stuff, but just, you know, be wary, know where box outs are going to be, take pictures of pipework before flooring goes down, just so you have an idea. And a harsh lesson I learned recently, make sure there's no mains fed pipes just below the plasterwork in your living room.
Oh God. Oh God. Look, that shouldn't happen. That's not something
That shouldn't happen, just to terrify anyone.
Here we are.
Yeah. Luckily there was 2 of us in the house when it happened, and we drilled into it by accident, but it really shouldn't have been there. But anyway, take more pictures of pipes. You know, it's not the coolest or sexiest thing to have in your camera roll, but you will be thankful of it someday.
Yeah, it's a good reminder to just visit the house as often as you can while everything is exposed, and record, like, take pictures and record, and just keep an eye on what's going on.
Yeah. And I think next time we'll cover the other part of your M&E plan, the electrical side and all the lighting, and Jenny's favourite topic.
My favourite topic, guys. It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
What are you doing if you're not getting your lighting right?
I know.
That'll be next week.
Okay, we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.